Excellent. Welcome to the TADSummit Innovators. I am very pleased to welcome Florent. Florent and I go back, wow, a long time. But please, Florent, introduce yourself. And I think in your introduction, we can sort of, as we've touched, met through the years, we can sort of share our joint experiences.
First, thanks for having me, Alan and Johnny. It's a pleasure being here. So yes, let's talk about when we met. I think we met in 2009 in a conference called
eComm.
Emerging Conference, eComm, from a gentleman called Lee Dryberg, I think.
That's it.
So it was the time where the Android operating system was just being launched. And the reason why I actually participated, I did a speech about it, because we participated we were one of the first to develop Android application at the time. So they wanted to see what was fantastic about the platform for developers. I was a mobile app developers at the time.
Exactly. And of course, that was where the telco industry was all excited about Telco 2.0. And I was trying to explain what it really was and also the limitations of bringing a advertising model within a subscription model. But anyway, again, water under the bridge.
So a little bit about me. So I like to call myself a technologist. So I really like to live in the future, but also like to dig into the past. So it's always interesting to look at how the industry has changed and the thing that always remain the same. So I've done mostly products. I worked for mobile application developers. I also work for a mobile operator, Vodafone. I was actually part of the RCS project that you are well aware of. I also work for scale-ups like Blacklane in the mobility space. So not in the telco at all, but it's actually the mobile phone and the mobile apps are right and center core. They are core of the experience. And now I work for Nodle, which is a completely different space. It's a crypto, so basically a crypto startup. It's called Nodle, and what we do, we are doing two things. We are doing a decentralized wireless network.
Excellent.
But at its core, it's a new computing platform, which we call a swarm computer. So we'll discuss that at the end when we go deeper into those kind of esoteric.
You're a time traveler.
Yeah, I like to travel in time.
You're the time traveler, going forward, but looking back.
Exactly.
No, history is always
crypto has made a big turnaround, and I don't know if you saw the news today that Sam Bankman-Fried, actually, everybody's going to get their money back from FTX.
That's
a lot better than Twilio is going to do.
Nobody has. I think I know you would bring with this up, Johnny.
Hey, I had to throw in my dig, but go ahead. But I do want to ask a question at some point regarding your viewpoint on RCS, which is something that I have an outside the box view. But obviously, I'm really interested to hear about your project. I know quite a bit about crypto and studied it for a while, and it's just fascinating. And I love the word blockchain. To me, that's just a great word.
It has many applications, and of course, there are two main applications of blockchains. I mean, the digital money.
I'm a big fan of the blockchain. Big fan.
So we can definitely discuss about it.
So let's go back a little bit of history.
I can talk about. I started my career in the year 2000. It's been a while, right? So I founded a company in mobile gaming. So today, mobile games is about $100 billion revenue for the entire space, which is massive. In 2000, it was not the case. It was probably a few $1 million. So it was really, we were really early. You have to imagine when I started this career, I like to say that because it's so shocking. We were still smoking in the office in Paris. So in France, maybe you guys in New York or some other parts of the US, you were actually a bit faster to adopt certain regulations, but in France, it took some time. So
No, I remember
We
working
were
on
smoking on
projects.
plane. I remember we were smoking on planes. I go a little further back.
Oh yeah. Okay, so it's a long, long, long way back. Yeah.
Yeah. Asian planes. So smoking on the Asian planes, and they would to the point where at least they'd separate it for the
Mhm.
smoking section and
You had
where the
like two
families were.
sections.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So
But
anyway,
anyway, go for it.
our startup was so I had this vision like, yeah, of course, all the students when they are listening to their professor, if they have a device, portable device, then they can play mobile games. Of course, they're gonna do that.
Yeah.
So mobile games are going to be huge. I was right. I was just too early,
Yeah.
but you have to realize the landscape was very different at this time. We had like three kind of platforms to develop application and game. You had like native.
Yeah.
But native has nothing to do with what it is today. It was like operating system called Epoch. Don't know if you recall this one.
Yes.
Then it was renamed Symbian. So was supported mainly, but not only, by Nokia.
Yeah.
You had mobile web games and SMS games. So of course it doesn't exist anymore, SMS games, but it was something there.
Oh,
The
yeah.
first option was pretty difficult. You had to develop on. It was hard to develop, hard to test, hard to deploy, and most importantly, it was very hard to monetize.
Yeah.
There were no mobile app store.
Distribution. Yeah.
So distribution was a huge problem. You basically had to deal with the hardware manufacturer.
Yeah.
And this is what we were doing. We're trying to sell games to Nokia or to Ericsson. The second option was actually more interesting, that it was mobile web games. And for this, guess who you had to deal with for mobile web games?
Well, it would be the carrier because you needed a portal.
Exactly. You had to deal with mobile operators were absolutely key in the relationship.
Yep.
You had one portal and nobody liked to type in URL on anything. So they were looking at the portal and they were browsing like
Exactly. It was just
like
lists.
Yahoo, a list,
Yes.
like a directory. So you had to
Yeah.
pick, and it was developed in horrible language called wireless WML
Yes.
from WAP. So we did this stuff. We developed system for mobile operators, and we had to deal with every single operator to be able to be seen.
Yep.
And the revenue share was also interesting. I mean, you have to remember, it was 70-30, like the App Store started, but in reverse.
Yes.
It was 70% for the mobile operator and 30% for the developer. So it was a pretty challenging time.
No, they wouldn't do that to mobile operators.
Yeah. And don't forget, they would load up other fees as well to get better placement. So yes, 70-30 was like starting, but quite a lot.
It was the starting, and if you wanted to be first, you had to pay more. Indeed,
Exactly.
That was exactly.
That's like AIT right now, 70-30.
Yeah,
artificially inflated traffic, Alan, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah. No, that was driving
70-30.
that.
It started that way.
But they had a monopoly because they had distribution, they had the billing mechanism, so it was easy. You got your phone, and it's like mobile web, WAP. I remember I was at a consultancy, and it was I went over to the Swedish arm of that consultancy, and we did some training around WAP, and that's when I realized this is just not going to work.
It was
WAP is crap. It was horrible.
It was absolutely horrible. And the worst, I remember we had to do adaptation. Like the theory was we have one language, it's going to work everywhere on all phones. In practice, it never worked on all phones. It didn't work on Sony Ericsson, and then you had like Nokia, and like you had Siemens. I mean, you have like old brands that nobody is using anymore. But and nothing worked properly. So you had to create what we call XSL, like style sheet, to adapt the language so it could work. So we developed this kind of technology. Actually, we developed a lot of technology to make sure that it worked everywhere. But that was pretty crazy.
And it was worse though than it wasn't just the brand, it was all the models within there you had to create, because they all had different screen sizes, they all came from different divisions within these large manufacturers that all thought they had the answer to how basically WAP should be presented. So I remember one company I was working with, and they were just showing me their testing harness for the games, and it was vast, because there was so much variation underneath. And still, they were releasing games where people were complaining because it wasn't working
It wasn't
entirely.
working. It was not working entirely, and
Yeah.
that's also. I mean, you can see there is something interesting. Those were standards that were driven by the Europeans.
Yes. Yes.
So the European players were the largest by far. I mean, it was all Europe and Japan.
Yes, that's right.
So,
yeah.
Yeah, the United States were not that strong in the space.
No.
It didn't start that strong. And in Europe, all those companies tried to agree on a standard. Of course, never worked. Japan was much better. You had I don't know if you remember
iMode, yes.
And
NTT
so,
basically defined it. Everybody
NTT
followed it.
Exactly. NTT defined it. All the manufacturers followed. It was actually working. Like you write this once and it worked all the time.
Yes.
So it was actually a much better standard. But anyway, I mean, in the end, it was still not good enough.
Yeah.
And the third option for doing games was, interestingly, the one that we thought we should not do. It was a huge mistake, was actually SMS.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So SMS was much better because you just had to type I mean, remember, you had to type.
Yeah.
You had like a small keypad. So for letters, you had to press multiple times A, multiple times B, and whatever.
Yeah. So
horrible.
So 1 4 times, whatever.
Exactly. Like T9, like the T9 from Tajik. They were acquired by Nuance later.
Oh, right.
So yeah, T9, this technology for writing was one of the most deployed software of all time because it was on every phones before the iPhone, right?
Yeah.
But so shortcode was fantastic. Like 5 numbers you can send a request, you have an answer, you have a billing mechanism, which is also more embedded. So SMS was really cool, but we thought like, it's old technology. Definitely, it's old, but SMS is still something that Johnny and you are still talking about, right? So SMS is the old tech that never dies.
Yeah, exactly.
And it was.
But no, RCS is going to kill it. No.
Yeah, it might be a bit more challenging than this, but I don't think it will ever be. SMS will never really be killed. I don't think it will, but
yeah. But also with SMS games, you could add in location. So then I remember there was this whole fad of like, kids playing an SMS-based game and roaming around a city, roaming into traffic because you had proximity to different regions. So even though it was hideous as from a user experience perspective, just to be able to interact with friends over phone in the real world, I can just remember the delight from people doing such crappy little games.
Of course, they were nothing. I mean, they were nothing else. So.
Yeah. Exactly.
But what's funny with the story of basically trying to do apps and games is that in the past you had like walled gardens. We were like mobile operators were the walled gardens, but they were completely disorganized. They were not technology savvy in a way. No. Then for some time when the iPhone was launched, there were no apps, right? If you remember, for 1 year. There were no application available, so it was mainly mobile web, and it was the real internet. So it was kind of a more open garden for kind of a very short period. Now it's a completely walled garden again, with different players. You have Apple and Google. They are in different positions because it's a much more organized. It's an organized walled garden where it's the entire stack is mastered. They are obviously technology savvy. So now it's very hard to see how this could change and going back to open.
Yeah.
But it's interesting to see that it like a walled garden, then it can be open. Then there's always a balance between centralization and decentralization.
Exactly.
In the story of technology.
Exactly. Oh yeah. I mean, I remember on the iPhone to download the Amazon app so you could do shopping. It was a sideload because as the App Store grew, because again, iPhone 1, you had to build the market for there to be enough people there to be worth a developer to do the work. And of course, you had like the app directory. So I didn't get to go for the iPhone 1 because I thought it was missing too many features, but I went for the iPod Touch. So I could, so as the App Store came out, I started to use the touch and play with it because you could do VoIP and a whole host of other stuff to play with. And then as 2 and then 3 came out, I mean, it just exploded because the experience was great. It became a status symbol. And there were also some really nice offers from the carriers on the data plans around using the iPhone. So then,
I mean, AT&T did. You know, sometimes was like Apple did a fantastic move to go with AT&T. I think AT&T did the move with Apple. Actually, it was a fantastic move.
Exactly.
They got a lot of subscribers, so it was really painful for Verizon and T-Mobile at the time. So
yes, exactly. But moving on in our story.
We can move to another stuff. So after these games and apps, I work in a different, even before RCS. So I worked on a different space which we'll call personal data and synchronization. I don't know if it's another standard.
Yes.
We had
SyncML.
SyncML was, so it was again back in the day. You didn't have if you were losing your phone, if you lose your phone, everything was gone, right? It was either stored on your SIM card, which was the best option, or on your device. So the industry decided to create the standards to be able to synchronize those data to the cloud, right? So it was the SyncML. I work in a startup on that. It was actually very good. At some point, we worked for AT&T, T-Mobile. We had about 1 billion contacts on the service. So of course it was much smaller number of subscribers because there were many duplicates. But if you think about it, you had like maybe 10 or 15 million subscribers, 1 billion contacts. You basically had a social graph.
Exactly.
The operator had this. Okay, they didn't do anything with it. Of course, privacy. You can't touch the data. I mean, they are in a way, operators are serious about this, right? They were really doing the job properly.
Exactly.
But they had actually a gold mine. They could have exploited. We could have exploited it. We actually didn't do anything about it.
No.
But yeah, that was an interesting time because again, very difficult to deploy services. You either had to deploy mobile applications, which were extremely hard.
Exactly.
Before the iPhone, it was J2ME. I don't know if you recall, like J2ME or Symbian.
Painfully. Yeah.
It was, people were never finding the application you were deploying. So they could not find it so of course the usage was pretty low.
Yeah.
So you
could required to be there as part of the carrier offer. And SyncML was just, it was a pain to use. In fact, I did some work with a company called Future Dial. Mainly focused on the North American market. And SyncML was like always like that future state we'll get to, because in North America, they didn't have SIMs. They had basically in Radio Shack stores, just vast array of cables. Yes.
You had cables to transfer,
phones,
right? To do the transfer.
Yeah. And that required too much effort. And you know how it is, cables. People lose them, they get tangled up. But it's amazing the pain that was caused.
It was super painful. And once again, same story. The iPhone and Android came. It changed completely the landscape.
Exactly.
And I was in this company when the iPhone came. I was like completely shocked. We knew, I don't know if you remember, but there were a lot of rumors about Apple doing a phone. We knew this was coming. I was super surprised by the touchscreen. I mean, the most amazing things was actually the touchscreen. I mean, for us, a screen cannot be touched. You know, like you touch.
Yes,
it's like
exactly.
You make it dirty, but you have to type to get some results. So it was. I think to me, it was one of the most radical revolution was actually the touchscreen.
Exactly.
So the touchscreen was something pretty amazing. Of course, the having a modern operating system completely changed. As a developer, when we opened the first Android Android Studio to develop, it was like, wow, finally, this is getting easy to develop.
Yeah.
This is getting, it's easy and almost fun.
Yes.
Okay, so we're super excited. But of course, when you are a mobile developer, you don't realize that because it's becoming so easy now,
Yeah.
you're going to have so much more competition than you used to have before.
Yep. Exactly.
So, and also, if you think about also what Apple did was they created an upgradable operating system. Most of the time it's like the first time where you had a phone and it gets better after 6 months. They were nothing like that before. You had a phone, you had to change it after 2 years, and it was like it was over. So I think it was a absolutely master move, but the biggest move, of course, was the App Store 1 year later. Then he opened the entire market. Then, of course, it changed completely everything. And synchronization became native to the operating system.
Exactly.
So now you could lock in. And what happened is that instead of the operator owning the contacts, it became Google and it became Apple. So it changed again the dynamics.
Exactly.
So yeah, that was this time with the synchronization in this company, and I think Android. I had always a sweet spot for Android because it's we won a contest with Google, so we were one of the winners for the Android Developer Challenge. And what was unique about Android, which is not necessarily the case today, but they started with a philosophy. Google said. With Android, all apps are created equal. You could replace the SMS application. You could replace the call application. You could basically transform entirely the phone. And it's today as well. You can change the launcher so your phone looks different. So it was a pretty unique approach to development, and he opened the door for a lot of innovation. So yeah, I think the modern operating system and of course the touchscreen and those sensors basically completely transformed the game, and in the mobile industry has never been the same, and it's been like 10 years like this. Microsoft tried to
Mobile.
do something. Windows Mobile, right? Windows Mobile, Windows Phone. They never, of course, you needed to do 10x better than iOS if you wanted to do something, and it was
slower.
It was slower. It was not as good. So no chance. But also they were already entrenched, so it was already too late.
Exactly.
So the story of mobile is pretty interesting to me. It's really like this was a turning point. So I don't think it will ever change. It will still be Apple and Google dominating the mobile space. Now it's more what kind of something else can be achieved. So the next, let's say the next move is, what is the new computing platform? And for me, it is what I mean, it's not just me calling this, it's ambient computing. Like ambient computing.
Pushing.
And this is what, when you look at what they are doing, specifically Apple, but not just them, but they have multiple devices that are playing in this. You have of course, you have the AirPod, which is not what I hear there, but it's like you plug it, and it's totally dependent on the iPhone or the Mac today. But you could imagine something like the movie Her, where you have some kind of pods, and they are completely independent. So you have the Apple Watch as well, which is something that is plugged to your skin. So it's already very close as a computing platform, much closer than even the iPhone. And of course, the Vision Pro they just launched, and it's the immersive experience, and it's really ambient computing because it adds up a layer of computing into the world. To me, the Vision Pro is more like a prototype. It's not a real device. It's a prototype.
Exactly.
They need to learn from users. So it's more like a learning device for them.
Correct.
But the ultimate goal is, how could you get this kind of everything without the weight, without the cumbersome appearance, I mean, they try to make it cool for something like this, to be honest, but still, it's the end game. Like if you think years from now, it would be more like lenses that you put on your eyes. Not even glasses, because glasses can also be not that cool.
Yeah.
not that easy. So it will be something even lighter. And in this space of ambient computing, we have seen already, like last year, 2 attempts. You had the UMain, you've seen the AI
Yep.
pin, right? The UMain.
Yep.
By the way, the UMain has a SIM card slot, right? You can
Yep.
it's basically connected.
Wholly
It's an
independent. Yeah.
independent device. It's also prototype, okay?
Yeah.
It's like people are criticizing this kind of devices. Yeah, but you're never gonna make it right the first time.
Exactly.
So, and you have the Rabbit. Actually, I purchased one. I purchased the
Oh, you
Rabbit
did?
R1.
So how'd you
Yeah.
find it?
I haven't received it.
Ah, okay.
I'm still eagerly waiting for the Rabbit, which is again the same. Like they have a Rabbit, so they're trying Rabbit OS. They are really trying to create a new experience, which is more voice-based, but you still have a screen.
Yeah.
So it's interesting. They are playing in this area of ambient computing, and ambient computing, AI
Exactly.
will be a key. It will be a key element.
Yeah.
The core vision of all those companies, like you have a personal AI that follows you all the time.
Yeah.
That is able to make you better as a professional or as an individual, is able to give you advices to help you out everything.
Yeah.
With everything
yeah.
you are doing on a day-to-day basis. So
Oh,
that's
yeah.
the ultimate vision, and you can ask, who is going to own this? Is it going to be Apple again with a fantastic device, or is it going to be another startup?
Mm-hmm.
Is it going to be the AI provider, or is it going to be the interface? You know, like you can look at
Exactly.
it two ways. It can be, the interface is basically two things. It's going to be audio. So who is controlling the audio system and the visual system? And then you
Exactly.
can say, I can decide which AI I'm going to choose to interpret.
Yeah.
So it could also, so it can be the interface that is the killer app, or it can be the AI itself.
Or
So
the
it could be
assistant. I mean, I always look back. We've talked about this for decades.
Mhm.
The assistant. It's like Karel with Voxist. His vision was,
Yeah.
we're doing this voicemail thing, but really that's going to become the assistant. That's where the value is, in understanding you and adding value.
Yeah.
So, that is, we can call it the AI, but it's that service becomes, integral to how I operate, and it uses all these peripherals, whether it's the Vision Pro, whether it's the headpiece, whether it's interacting with your mobile phone, and being able to sort of deliver services or gather data.
It is multimodal. I mean,
yeah,
the multimodality is very key there. Is like you need to interpret audio, you need to interpret visuals, you need to interpret a lot of things. Plus
exactly.
personal context. What is the context of the user? Plus personal data.
Yes.
Like all the stuff that we discussed, like contacts, email.
Yep.
Accessing your email and interpreting your email is already huge, right? You can really know a lot of things about what you're doing.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, those things are integral into this vision of the personal assistant. Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So how does that vision fit into what you're building at the moment?
So I mean, not so much, but the thing is, it's another computing platform. So we discussed about computing platform. What are they? It's every time there's a new computing platform, it's a new kind of computer.
Yes.
So the first computer was like the very large computer.
Yeah, mainframes. Yeah,
mainframes, right? So you have personal computer, was a different kind of computer. It was for you as an individual. Then the smartphone is another kind of computer, smaller, always with you, always connected.
Exactly.
But maybe sometimes less powerful, not debatable today. So it's as powerful as your personal computer. The cloud is another kind of computer.
Yep.
It's elastic.
Yeah.
Virtual. You don't feel it. You don't have matter associated to it. But it's extensible, but it doesn't belong to you, right? So
yeah, it's a service you hire. It's
and
like
a blockchain,
Gmail, like Zoom.
Exactly. You have all those SaaS. All those SaaS industry was enabled by the rise of cloud computing provided by Amazon first, but also Microsoft.
Many others. Yeah.
A blockchain is another kind of computer as well.
Yes.
It's a computer that can make commitments. So
Exactly.
I know Johnny likes blockchain, and you have to think about it as a different.
You can settle everything up real time. It's just trustless. It's just great.
It's trustless.
It's what's needed in so many different. I think years from now, everything's going to be on it. Just makes sense.
There are so many things that will run on it, and especially identity, where identity and key management, it's like huge PKI.
Yeah, we did a podcast with a company that has an identity solution on a blockchain that it's just it's just elegant, simple, and brilliant.
Yep.
And but again, it takes time. Adoption takes time. The world needs to move with you.
Exactly.
And basically, so at Nodle, it's another kind of computing platform we are trying to build. We call it a swarm computer. So swarm computer would be the equivalent of cloud computing, but you replace servers in racks that are located in one location by smartphones. So it's kind of a cloud that is on the field, right? It's like all the people, they have a smartphone, they have a piece of code in it. What application can you deliver with this crowdsourced deployed set of nodes? Okay. The first application of this new kind of computing platform is actually locating assets, like Bluetooth assets. So we sometimes confuse as a Bluetooth project, or because Bluetooth is the first obvious thing you can do with it, is that once you have Bluetooth, you do exactly the same stuff as Apple Find My, right? Apple Find My, they locate your tags because of the crowd.
Which I still can't work.
Yeah, it's very difficult to make it work, by the way. It's extremely difficult to make it work.
Very difficult.
It's very difficult because huge density, you need to be there at the right time. So there are a lot of complexity associated to it. So that's why it's a huge challenge to try to do those kind of stuff. But the Apple Find My kind of service is, let's say, it's application centric. It's just about locating your device. What we're trying to do with Nodle is something which is generic. It's a generic platform where you could run new kind of services. So technically, you could even not use the sensors and use something else, like use the GPU. I mean, some people come to us as like, why can't I run AI model on smartphones and deploy? In practice, the challenges are so enormous that it's not really that useful for AI models to be run on smartphones. So it's probably not the case. But there are other applications that we are willing for developers to think about what they could do with. Okay, you have 1 million smartphones there deployed across the world. What can you do with it? You cannot do everything, of course, but you could still run a piece of code or be triggered by something that happened or location, and then you enable new features. So that's pretty much the work I'm doing right now. It's pretty fun, but again, I always like to live in the future with what is the next computing platform, what is the next move. So that's why I'm doing it.
Yeah. No, because I mean, there's all these devices out there that are on all the time. I mean, it's not just the smartphone; it's all the the pads and your laptops, and they're all running. I mean, they all got gigs of data. They've all got extremely powerful processors, where even taking just 10% have hardly any impact on battery life. Yet it reminds me of, remember the old Sony PlayStations, where they had that app that you could run that would allow sort of research on, I think it was gene folding. It's very similar, but taking the fact that computing is now pervasive. It's everywhere, and it's highly connected. I was seeing Patrice put a post out about 5G, back to back, not back to back. It's basically using your 5G device and communicating with other 5G devices using, So that's very fast. Now, there was a standard around 4G, but you know how it is.
Yeah.
The focus is on telco rather than actually trying to do something cool with it. So I think they've learned from 4G and they're trying with 5G to enable this sort of device to device.
Peer-to-peer. Yeah. Kind of peer-to-peer. I mean, this is pretty much one of the things that we love looking at is like we use Bluetooth to have communication peer-to-peer.
Yeah, exactly.
And Bluetooth, the standard is constantly progressing, so we might get there. But of course, 5G also, you have like new standards where you could actually use the spectrum in some ways to actually deliver peer-to-peer feature. Absolutely.
You know, because as soon as you say swarm computing, I'm thinking, oh, we're getting quite fast now. You know, on these devices.
Where's the investment opportunity? We have a lot of people on Wall Street watching us. We've called the market cold for the last 9 months. People have made a lot of money betting on us, lost a lot of money betting against us, not by us being any experts, just because we know our industry. So where's the opportunity? You talk about this. Where can we find some stuff?
I mean, thank you so much, Johnny, for asking. I mean, we have the website is nodle.com, so I hope Alan can
I'll have the links
share. So we have a contact.
I mean, look, at the end of the day, you guys geeked out hard, and it's great. But obviously, new product, new horizon. You're going into the future, and it's all going to come down to one thing: the opportunity, the money, and fascinating. A little bit over my head, but I'll dive into it. And then I'll ask Alan a bunch of dumb questions. He'll fill me in.
Oh, yeah. But it was beautiful. I really enjoyed the reminiscing. But we have to finish on one of the things that Johnny asked right at the start around RCS. We had to skip over it because of time, but that's great. And, you know, people can go now. They don't have to listen to your answer here. But, well, potentially Apple's joined the party. It's not clear. The messaging community have got itself all excited and frothing at the mouth about RCS is everywhere. And I'm just interested in your perspective on where
the messaging groupies.
First of all, the reason why you're asking, because you know that was part of the team that was funding this the RCS project back in. So it was started in Vodafone first.
Yes.
A very small team. We were like 5 or 6 people there, of course, with blessing of the top management.
Yeah.
And we contacted the GSMA, then we contacted the other operators, and we started to develop why we wanted to do that. Initially was we were seeing WhatsApp growing like crazy. We were seeing all these alternative OTT messaging. So it was like, what can we do about it?
Yeah.
They are providing group messaging. They are providing so much more value. SMS is gonna die, and SMS is serious.
Yeah.
So we developed the standard. But we always knew something. It was SMS might die for P2P, but it will not die for A2P. Why is that? Because it's like your phone. I guess you are calling. You call your friends with any other things, like with voice over IP. I'm using WhatsApp all the time myself. In Europe, it's pretty popular. So the only reason why I use my phone for making a phone call is actually to call the doctor or restaurant or people I don't know. They have their ID. And SMS our view was SMS is kind of the same. It's like your bank will send you an SMS. You will have A2P, which is always going to be something very important. And so RCS was also if you want my answer about RCS as a P2P, yes, of course, it can still be meaningful, but obviously not competing with the OTT.
Yeah.
However, A2P, there is still an opportunity to provide way more engaging messages from a business to an individual so that they have direct interaction or more value. Because everybody has a phone number, so basically it's so easy to be able to release that. So my perspective on RCS is that with Apple coming online, there is a new opportunity, not for P2P, but more for A2P, because now you are sure that if you send an advanced rich message to anybody, then suddenly it will work. Before it was not working. If it was working on 50% of the base, in the US, I think It's massive, right? The iOS penetration in the US
like
is
70,
above
30,
60%, 70% or something like
Yeah.
this. So forget it. You need Apple.
Yeah,
Once it's
exactly.
there, then maybe there is an opportunity there. Of course, I started that like 10 years ago, so
That's
there's
great
nothing for
because
me for now.
you just validated a lot of the work me and Alan put in because in the USA, the operators did exactly what you just said, which is a great short, Alan. You should take that little clip he had and put that on as a short and then put the video out while I tell you this. But they turned A to P to a half a penny and a penny for spam. So they flipped the script because P2P is really just, A to P is just a really P2P message. And they segregated it and they started this company we don't want to talk about. And they created, we're going to stop spam. But what they really did was just solidified charging a half a penny and a penny for spam. So they don't care about RCS and they don't care about Google coming in or any of that. They care about the revenue that they're going to get off that A to P. So hearing it from one of the pioneers in RCS is a really powerful message. And we had to wait 35 minutes for it. But I think that should kind of get put to a short and really highlight it, Alan. Because here you have a pioneer. He was with the original five guys in RCS. And he just basically called out the last 9 months of our work and basically saying, hey, but they knew this, the operators. And what did they do? Smoke and mirrors, campaign registry. We're going to stop spam. Nah, we're really just going to charge you billions of dollars for your A to P. So I think, wow, this is an amazing podcast for us, Alan,
and I just
without
wanted
him
to
even understanding it.
Oh yeah, no, I think on the ATP, and I just want to take Florent just a step further. I was in Costa Rica last year, and I was using with businesses in Costa Rica WhatsApp a lot. So, for example, we wanted to go on a cruise in sort of one of the sort of lakes there, and you're searching on the web, and they all have their WhatsApp IDs.
It's a WhatsApp ID.
You just ping them. And
it's
then
like in India.
Yeah, exactly. I found it in that where it's more, it's a brand that you don't necessarily know that well, but you get the ID from a trusted source. And of course, you don't exchange any financial stuff until you're physically there at the premise. But it was great. ATVs, we were just chatting on WhatsApp and getting it all sorted out. And, because it's more personal, it's like, I said, my son, he's 13. I said, don't worry, he'll be fine. It's like legally it's 16, but they're like, don't worry. So that I found was really interesting, that a lot of the communication I had while we were in Costa Rica, from a business perspective, was just P2P. Well, A2P going to be more restricted to the big brands where trust is critical. Again, just trying to get your perspective on this.
Or WhatsApp, they also have this business number. So I was actually surprised that it took Meta so long to deploy more business features, especially in India. I used to work for an India company called Nodle, and everything was WhatsApp was, and is still massive in India. There always been an opportunity to actually create some kind of charging even during transactions. It took them a long time. Now they are there, but it took them a long time.
Gotcha.
So I think WhatsApp has, in some countries, they have basically the monopoly in communication. In some other markets, it's way more, let's say, like in the US, you have Messenger. People use Messenger, Instagram, WhatsApp. They use so many things.
Yeah, exactly.
It's then the phone, like the A2P of RCS would make more sense, because at least if it's deployed at the operating system level, bam, it would work.
So we won't see that global domination.
No, it probably not be. I don't think there would be a global domination.
Yeah, we got to have you back on. We have to have you back on what
we're running long
on SMS. Huh?
Exactly.
Sure, we can.
We got to have you back on SMS. You had a lot of credit. You had a lot of credibility going back to the past.
Oh yeah,
and all this nonsensical stuff what these people are talking about.
But cool, Florent.
But you nailed it. He nailed it. He just nailed it.
No. It was perfect.
Where you been? watching French soccer over there. I might root for your soccer team now. Maybe. No, not really.
But again, Florent, this was excellent. Really
It was a
enjoyed
pleasure.
reminiscing and discussing where things are going in the future. And I think we've got a lot we can discuss, both around your startup and the messaging industry in general. So again, thank you so much, Florent.
Have a good day.
You too. Bye-bye.